Haha, kijk. Het werkt gewoon nog steeds. En dan is het allermooiste. Welcome, Simon. Great we can have you from Andorra. I'll introduce you in Dutch first, so all the Dutch viewers know who we're talking to. Nou, de meeste mensen hebben hem natuurlijk al gezien. Daar naast mij zit de toch wel legende Simon Crafar. 123 World Superbike wedstrijden, 25 500cc wedstrijden en 7 250cc wedstrijden. Onder mij ziet u Evert Klaar, natuurlijk de grote man van Racesport. Hij zal jullie vragen vooral doorgeven en daar straks mee in beeld komen en hij doet de techniek. Simon, welcome in Holland. You're still in Andorra. When we talked before the show, I thought all the time you were in a sauna or in a ski cabin, but this actually is your house. It's made out of wood, isn't it?
It is. It's a little log cabin, I think you call it, on the side of a mountain with a fantastic view. Very happy here. I've been here must be close to 20 years, 19, something like that.
All right. You already have a European passport then, or you're still Kiwi in the passport?
Kiwi passport, Andorran residencia. They're, you know what I mean, done the paperwork here, but still running my New Zealand passport.
Okay. And your kids, are they on Andorran passports or also New Zealand?
They are on Andorran passports. They were born here, both of them. Our dream was, we love the place because of, you're in Europe, but I come from middle of nowhere. I was going to say that less politely, with a few swear words, but middle of nowhere, New Zealand, farming community. My dad's a farrier, blacksmith, and makes the horseshoes and fits them, and,
wow.
To live in a city, I just couldn't do it. And we found this little place and absolutely love it. And we always planned to go home, but my wife doesn't want to. She loves it. And it's good for my work in Europe. So we decided to stay here. The kids have grown up, speak all the languages, which was one of our dreams. So super happy. Don't plan to go anywhere.
You're still saying home, and then you mean New Zealand. I mean, you're 20 years over there now. I thought you would call that home.
Well, I think of it here as home, but, I'm a Kiwi, I always will be. There's been periods I haven't gone home for 8 years, so I don't live there. I don't have any ties at all, apart from my family and friends from all those years ago. But I will always call New Zealand home, always.
Okay, wow. I just read the list with all your racing accomplishments. I mean, some people think I know all that, but to be honest, I don't know anything, but you can just look it up. But I had to go quite a way back to 1989 for your first World Superbike races. Can you still recall your first World Superbike race? I think it was Sugo, or that's what the paper says, so probably it's right.
Yeah.
Can you recall the moment you heard you were going to go there?
I was totally out of my depth. I would basically ridden, I got off 250 production, a KR1, street bike. So I won the championship at home on that. And basically Morinaga, who owned a bunch of Yamaha dealerships in Japan and Tokyo, he helped Aaron Slight, myself and Andrew Stroud, Scott Doohan. Mick Doohan was the first. I missed him. So he'd had a good run of kind of helping talent through, and he did the same for me. But I had no experience when I first turned up there on a superbike. It was Formula One back then. And so I turned up there and, like I said, out of my depth. It was huge. And it was a YB4, I think they called, Bimota. It was a 750cc Bimota, and it ran terribly. All it did was go pa-pa, pa-pa, pa-pa.
Sounds like a Bimota.
It was like a typhoon. I was, oh my God. You can imagine. And then I'm trying to hang on to this thing in the rain and it's misfiring, and then there goes Falapa standing on the foot pegs doing a wheelie, past me.
That's,
I was just like,
that's what he does.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. I was wondering, when I was sifting through your results, I thought, I mean, you've had an incredible career, but on the other hand, I mean, it's not like you came on the stage and you set the world on fire immediately, but in some other way, you always were giving yourself second, third, fourth chances. How did you manage that?
I'm stubborn. I turned up here, and it wasn't like because I won the championship in New Zealand, I got a good bike here, which you can do from some other countries, So I went from New Zealand just trying to find my way out, rode in Japan, went to Malaysia, did my apprenticeship, I would call it, on a Superbike, learned how to ride one fast, and because I didn't until then. Then I went to the UK because I wanted to get towards World Championship, Rode one season UK, and then just in a move I got to say I'm super proud of now that I look back, I said no to good money and a company car and to ride in BSB another year, and I'd never been paid good money before because I wanted to ride World Championship, and I just went there and rode whatever I could the next year. I managed to ride 10 250 races, I think it was, 4 World Superbike rounds and 4 500 Grand Prix. I didn't care if I got paid or not. I just wanted to do World Championship, So when you're doing it like that, it wasn't doing it for the best teams it was just to get my foot in the door and learn the tracks, So I kind of, just chipped away and worked my way up rather than coming in on a factory team,
And so you think maybe your stubbornness is your biggest help in this, or was it your talent, or?
All sports people are, you could call it stubborn or determined, but I think really I just loved my sport and I wanted so much to do it. That's what I'm saying. It was more important to me than, I would not be lying when I said it's more important than money and more important than my body, and I don't say that lightly. Back then I would do whatever it took, just try to make that thing go and try to figure it out. And in the beginning it was really hard because it was, we call it bumming lifts, from track to track. I had no car, no phone, no credit card, nothing, So I had 2 bags, a bag of clothes and a bag of riding gear, and I was just going to the races, catching lifts. And it was hard, but it was also very enjoyable. Like, it was an absolute rush, learning all these tracks and staying with my boot sponsor one week and staying with Raymond Roche and the next week, and who was an absolute legend. And it was magic, true kind of freedom and chasing the dream, but hard, no money, and sleeping on people's sofas, so.
Yeah. You think that still exists? The way, like the gypsy racing way?
There'll be still, World Championship? No. It's not really possible now, is it? What World Championship classes can you do that? I suppose if you get the right ride, but then you don't have to have no home, If you get the right ride, you should have some wages as well. But I genuinely don't know. It was more common back then because the teams weren't kind of fixed. It was like loads of private, you know what I'm saying, like privateer teams. I think it's better at the top now, especially MotoGP. It's me wobbling around my first ride on a Harris 500, don't know the track, you know what I'm saying, don't know the bike, don't know how to set it up. I'm out there in the same races, Mick Doohan and it was Doug Chandler and, Kevin Schwantz, Barros. I don't think that is right either, Now it's so much better because everyone's on a factory bike, aren't they? You know.
You think it's better? I mean,
I think for the racing, for us to watch, is better.
Yeah.
Like you can't. I don't think that. So the way I did it should be done in world championship at the very pinnacle. It's like turning up to Formula One and riding for a team. I had 2 mechanics; they were great, but that first 500 I rode in '93, we had 2 sets of tyres per race weekend. I'm not kidding. The rest of the weekend, I just had to go through the truck and find some second handies or some of someone else's bike to get. I don't think you should be doing World Championship like that. You know, I did. The 4th ride, I got 9th. That got me another job, and it was a stepping stone. It was brilliant. But you know what I'm saying? I think how it is now that everybody is on a factory bike is how it should be in the pinnacle class. You know, the ones down, sure, it should be still possible. Like I feel sad that Superbikes, you can't still do that, and you can't have all the, for example, all of the satellite, the distributor teams, like Yamaha France or Germany, or they used to all turn up when I first turned up here that year to do World Superbikes. We'd have so many entries. They had odd numbers and even numbers to qualify.
Yeah.
There was too many.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think super important for the sport is to have those guys that fit, they used to race, or Ron Grant was one of them to me. They used to race. He was a great rider. He still loved it. He knew how to build a bike. He had a nice bike in the shed, and he gave me a ride on it, and I got a job by riding his bike in England, meaning the guys like that, racers with no money, who are often the hungriest, that's the chance, is those guys that'll have a bike in the shed and they can build it pretty good. It's a one-man.
Yeah.
I was sad that Superbikes has lost that, that those guys can't come and try and qualify anymore,
Especially now the stock classes are gone and the European Junior Cup is gone. I mean, you used to do something in the European Junior Cup, and in Moto3 you see a bit of the same. I mean, do you think the way to get in racing now is still possible for kids like you in those days? I mean, not having the money, but having the will and the talent.
Well, look, the thing is, you're dead right. It's will and talent. And if you show something, all it is showing something on, that's what I'm saying. Those guys have to be there. Like, so they'll go, yeah, we'll give you one ride on the bike, and you do something so good, then you get more rides, or someone else gives you a ride. But if all those private,
now they say you pay 3,000 euros and you can ride the bike.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's really, really sad. Really sad. It's why I think it's only a personal thing, but it's why I wish I loved Superbikes. I've always, it's what my dream was. My dream was a Grand Prix, because I'd never seen a Grand Prix bike. It was Superbikes, because I was racing around on production bikes in New Zealand, modified production bikes, and then you see on the TV, Fred Merkel and Falapa and Tardozzi, sorry, I've got to say Fabrizio Perobino, all those guys battling away, having really good races, and all the locals turning up, and it really captured my imagination, and I wanted a go at it. That's what I wanted to do. That was my whole aim. It wasn't until I got there I realised, I knew there was another class, but I thought, how do you get there? I had no idea,
It is a bit ironic that most people, racing-wise, will remember you for Donington or for GP 500 and 250 races, while your biggest love probably or sure was World Superbikes. I mean, that's. I think if people would ask you, you would say, I'm an ex-Superbike rider, not an ex-GP rider.
No, I'm an ex-bike rider. I love motorcycles, I just couldn't see how to get to GPs. That's all I'm saying. I love factory bikes. My dream as a child never was to be world champion. It was always, we had magazines back then, it wasn't online, and those factory bikes, oh, how beautiful they are. I want to ride one of those, and Dad doesn't have to pay. That was the whole dream. I want to ride one of those against the best guys in the world, and Dad doesn't have to pay. But I didn't really think about or care which way it would take me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be 500 world champion, or I just wanted to ride those bikes. Dad don't have to pay and fight with the best guys in the world. And I know I'm running over old ground, but I couldn't see how to get to GP when I'd never seen a GP bike. You know what I'm saying? You've got no idea how to do it. So Superbikes came out and I went, I can do that. Yeah, we could ride. I can ride a Superbike. I can go and turn up there, try and qualify. It literally started off like that. And it's why I feel sad that Superbikes to me has lost that essence of what I thought World Superbikes was, People riding modified street bikes, everyone can turn up and see who wins.
Yeah, because most full factory bikes in World Superbikes are, well, almost MotoGP bikes nowadays. I mean, it's crazy technical wise.
I think the regulations. I don't want to get involved in the politics. I haven't studied it well enough to know to steer it, but I really feel strong that it's too high a level, like you say, and keep that when you know those guys in the shed I was telling you about that are building a bike and they haven't got an electronics engineer, they've just got a bike and they know how to build it and they know how to set it up, they know how to work with a rider, and I want them to be able to come back and then it will completely change, I think, the sport. And sorry, just to repeat again, all of the national distributors, importers, if those guys could all, all of the local, like for the French Championship guys, German Championship guys, Spanish Championship, and I'm talking in Europe, and the British Championship, if they could all turn up to World Superbikes, wow, the crowds would cheer their local boys,
Yeah, but it all changed. I mean, they're all factory, official factory companies now as well. There's no private importers anymore in Europe. Most of them are now just, Yamaha Holland is just Yamaha Europe, Yamaha Japan. I mean, that's a big shame, I think, that because of that, there's almost none support from countries anymore.
Are you saying there's no national Superbike Championship there?
In Holland, there's not. I mean, it's so far down. There's nothing left. In Germany, there's still IDM. In France, it's a small one. I think the only real big one, my favorite, maybe in the World Series, is British Superbikes, which is doing really well. But all other national series are, well, not big anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to drag you down that path, but.
No, sorry. Listen, the first time I spoke to you, you were instructing Moto Voodoo. I think it was somewhere in France on a racetrack, and we know that you did quite well in that. And then suddenly you popped up. I think for a lot of us, you popped up doing something in MotoGP. How did that come about? Because to be honest, I didn't see that coming within ages since I spoke to you. You seemed so happy doing Moto Voodoo, having a beer, having a laugh. What could go wrong?
I was completely happy. I am completely happy. I'm still doing the Moto Voodoo thing through the winter. And I didn't see it coming either. You're not the only one. What happened was I got an email from the guys at Dorna saying that they're doing a historic series of videos interviewing riders. I was very proud to be a asked once I realised what it was. I just said, yeah, sure. I turned up at the next Grand Prix I was at. We hopped in the back of this pretty cool studio truck that Dorna have got in Europe, and did an interview where I had to talk through that qualifying with Mick Doohan, at Assen, your track, and Mick, unbeknown to me, did the same, and they just put our, don't know if you've seen it, put our voices back, flicking back and forwards, saying what happened, and then also my win at Donington. So they wanted to do those 2 videos, so I turned up, did them, met Ruben and Laura, who are now my workmates. And bosses probably, but feels like workmates, good people. And and I met them then to do that video, and they, unbeknown to me, wrote my name down on a list to say he was good to work with. We should keep him on this list, and if position becomes available, let's ask him. And that's what happened.
Why did you think that happened? Because I mean, you're not the typical racer, to be honest. I mean, you're not big-mouthed. You're not loud. You think about things before you say them. You're very quiet, soft almost, compared to a lot of very outgoing people. But still, they saw that in you. I mean, how do you think that came about?
You'd have to ask him.
That's too easy. That's too easy.
Look, I know that they wanted to turn, well, they explained it to me, they wanted to, they had in the back of their mind that instead of having 3 journalists, the 2 commentators, Bertie and Steve in the commentary box, who are both journalists, if they're going to replace one, they should have an ex-rider, so that rider can come in with, or ex-rider can come in with information from the inside, meaning you can hopefully turn an old rider into a journalist, but it's impossible to turn a journalist into an old rider, So that's what their aim was, to have a rider that had won at the highest level in the commentary team. And when you say that, then it narrows it down, who. Yeah, right. Who did. Yeah. And so that's how I got on the list. And then when they offered it to me,
because in the beginning, when they said you were going to do it, and the way I knew you, I thought this is not going to work at all. I mean, TV is always look at me, and that's not what you are. But still, you managed to. In the beginning, you said it yourself. In the beginning, it was a bit difficult.
Being a journalist is a whole new trade, and I had no training. It was the only training I got was in front of you guys, on the live, and you have to make mistakes in the beginning, and I was really nervous, because I don't want to make mistakes, but the more I made, the more nervous I got. It was horrible, that first period was, I would say, it was as hard and more unpleasant than turning up to World Championship in those paddocks for my very first time on a Harris Yamaha at the bottom of the smallest team. It was more anxiety, more horrible experience. But I'm so glad I got through that first year, and then into the second year it started feeling comfy. It started not feeling horrible. and then my third year felt good, the start of the third year. So let's hope we can get some more of that.
I saw you working in the paddock.
I got to say, now I'm loving it. Honestly, I love it because I love. It's what I know is the bike side, and then to try and figure out how to get that across wasn't easy, but like I said, learning a new trade. But just to be involved in the whole paddock still is just so cool. Seeing all the new innovations, seeing new bikes, talking with my job is to talk with the team managers and the riders. It's a dream, really.
But you worked I think I haven't seen a lot of people in the paddock working as hard as you did, and in a difficult situation in the beginning.
You you don't know how much I appreciate that. I throw 100% at whatever it is, to figure it out. I genuinely do try my heart out. And that's why it hurts so bad that I was shit at it at the beginning. And I tried to, and I really appreciate that because I do. I don't mind throwing, I still do now. For example, any spare time at all, trying to find out info and that'll help you the next time on the live. But that, again, is all the stuff you learn the hard way, in the beginning. But thank you, appreciate that.
Is that the same that you use, what you used in racing? Because in the beginning, if you look at how you did your commentary, and if you look in, you're starting in 1989, you didn't set the world on fire, but you kept on grafting away, and it looks a bit the same.
Well, hey, it is literally, but there's a lot of similarities. It's turning up, thrown completely in the deep end, and trying to survive, and not giving up, trying to improve, trying to learn off good people. Yeah, it's exactly the same. You're right.
You ever watched the first one back?
Oh no, I don't want to do that.
All right,
that'll be depressing.
Ivan, okay, we have some questions. Maybe it's good to do some questions now. Otherwise, we have too much questions in the end. There are different questions, but the first questions are from your racing career, and there are some questions about your new job. The first question. Assen. In Assen, you take your first points. But there was also something in 97, 98 with the pole position. The qualification was stopped. And then there was only 2 minutes or something like that. And there was no pole position. What can you tell us about this?
Assen was actually my first podium in World Superbikes. In 92? 95.
Okay.
And then it was my first podium in GPs, which was the 500 Grand Prix, which was that weekend that you're talking about, where I'm fighting for the pole. I loved especially the old track. When I say the old one, before you chopped it in half and stole half of it.
Yeah. It's a parking lot now.
Incredible. What a track. Anyway, I loved it, and it was really good to me. I obviously got, you know what I'm saying, I must have figured out how to ride it, really enjoyed it, got some results there. To answer the question about the qualifying, I gather that's the main question. I turned up there. Like I said, I knew it well, that track. Some of the tracks beginning of that season I didn't know. And I was, pretty average on them, trying to figure out a 500 again in 98 and, change my riding style, figure out the bike setting, and then especially on tracks that you don't know, you're not going to do so well. And then about 4 races in, started figuring it out, turned up to Assen and knew the track, had the bike figured out, and it went really well. And I sat in that garage when they put that red flag out because my plan in that qualifying had gone to plan, meaning I'd used my last brand new tyre, which is, you've got to have new rubber to go faster again, And so I'd used my last brand new rear, came in, was pole position, then the red flag went out and I went, timed it perfect, did the lap I wanted to do. We can't do any more. Then they said they're going to open it and run the last 2 minutes. And I just looked at my mechanic and we both knew we got nothing left anyway, We can't go faster we'd already trashed that soft tyre. So we've got to just watch and hope, it's going to be hard. Then I'm watching Mick go around and that first split, he's under. And I'm like, I said to I was just super impressed. Mick was my training partner at that time and a few years before, and he's my friend, And he's a grumpy competitor, and wasn't always my friend. Meaning didn't feel like it when I was close to him, meaning on the track. But he's a good guy and he's my friend. We got out there and raced. You know what I'm saying? It was all fine. During that qualifying, I was so impressed that he was under. I turned to my mechanic and said, if he goes faster than me, I'm going to walk down there and shake his hand, because I don't know how you do that in those cold conditions. He was on Michelin's, which weren't really forgiving in the cold, and he was going to pull that monster out of the bag. I thought, unbelievable. At first, I didn't think he was going to do it. Then I thought I'd better congratulate him. Then when he did it, I went, right, I'm off to it. I went down there and shook his hand. He looked at me like he hated me, when I shook his hand. And I'm like, whoa, like, where did that come from? And later, I didn't ask him that year, but years later when we both stopped, I told him that. I said, you look like you hated me. I know him really well. What was the story? And he goes, you made me risk my body. He's so determined, so stubborn that pole and smashing everybody was more important, he'll risk his body, but he hated me for forcing him to do it. But,
yeah. A lot of people remember this qualification. They asked me already this afternoon. Another question is, at the moment, you work for MotoGP pit reporter, but do you also something with young talented riders? Is also a question.
I don't. I worked with the EJC, which is where we met, Iwan. And I don't anymore. I did that for a few years. Then that was at the same time as me starting Moto Voodoo. And then Moto Voodoo, like you've mentioned, I was very happy doing it. It is successful. We get more. We've got more bookings than we've got days, like track time, or that I can do now that I'm doing the GPs. And that's me, full, and I'm super happy with both jobs. So one's my baby, I've got to keep that going. I really want to. So I do that from as soon as the last race is finished, Grand Prix, November at Valencia, I go flat out until Jerez, because I can squeeze a few more in the beginning of the season. And then once we get to Jerez, we're in Europe with the GPs. It is so busy that I tried it the first year, but I started to burn out, and wifey went, let's just focus on one job at a time.
If you had to make a choice between MotoGP and Moto Voodoo, if you really had to.
Oh, that is really hard, and I hope I don't have to choose. I genuinely don't know which way I would go. That's the truth, because you'd have to look at it and go, if I had to choose, that means they want more of my time. They're going to have to pay for it because I have to give up my other job. But I think I'm better putting it across is I love both of the jobs, and if you did, I did Moto Voodoo all year round before, and it becomes less pleasant because you're doing the same thing over and over, and it's hard work. You've got to really put your heart into teaching people. If you don't, it doesn't work. So there's only so much energy you've got for that. That's probably the way to put it. Mental effort. And the good thing about the GP thing is the change. Doing all the GP season. By the end of it, I'm dying to get back on the bike and do the teaching. At the end of the teaching season, I'm dying to go back to GP.
Yeah, right.
Long may that last. Honestly, that's how I feel.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more question, and this is a question about your new job as a MotoGP pit reporter. And the question is, what was the most difficult part of this new job, and which one was the nicest part when you start with this job?
That's cool. Well, I would say the most difficult, I'd like to put that in two pieces, because there's the most difficult technically learning the job, learning to be a journalist, and that took some mind stretching, and learning a lot of new skills. But I don't know if any one of those. So that's one part of it. That was damn hard. Learning how to prepare, and that only really comes from experience, because you know what's coming. When you start, you don't know what's coming, so you can't prepare for it. So there's that part, and the other very hard, very unpleasant side is the social media side. Getting a proper kicking on social media from, some people use the most horrible words. Yeah. And you can't help, if you read that, you can't help but take it personally. That was the hardest, I think, And then as one got better and I got more experienced, so the bad stuff on social media went away as well. So win-win. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. The most pleasant.
Yeah.
The most pleasant. Right in the beginning, there was a clear winner. There was. I was feeling pretty. It was after Qatar, the very first race, 2018, and I was feeling pretty insecure. Wow, that was a nightmare. It was my first race. Is over. And I'm walking up to the media centre, and the podium guys happen to be coming back down the same stairs from, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, from upstairs. And Valentino passes me in the hallway and the stairwell, and stops me, puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Simon, good to see you back where you belong, in the paddock."
Wow. Wow.
That was really, really, really nice. You know what I'm saying? Because Valentino has that talent, doesn't he? Never forgetting your name, never, and making you feel. He's amazing at that, making you feel special. But I needed it right then, so it was special.
Yeah. Okay, Ivan, I come back later with some more questions.
About questions, I mean, what I always think is most difficult in your job, I mean, you're always in the Parc Fermé in the end. Riders come in, podium riders, and you only get to ask them one question. And most of the times they do not listen very well to the question, but they come with a standard answer. But a lot of times they come, especially to you, with a very interesting answer. And I always think, let's have another. Ask the follow-up question, but you're not allowed to. Maybe most people don't know that.
That's very difficult, when you've only got one. It can, because when it's only one, I know as a rider, and you just touched on it there, riders already know what they're going to say because they've already been through it all, just experienced it. They just want to say what their experience was. And they don't really need me trying to ask some out left paddock, So it would be really good to have two because they could say what they wanted and then I could ask them something else, that would be great, but it isn't like that. So I do my best to try and, let them, I think I want them to say what they want to say, and I don't want to get in the way of that. I just want to, unless it's something really big, meaning they had a crazy almost crash, or I try to get that in because I want to make sure they mention it that's it really. I want to let them say what they experienced.
You're looking forward to certain guys on the podium, not because they are your favorites in racing, but because they're nice in the way they respond to you, probably.
Yeah. I mean, there was two this year, but in the last 12 months. The winner would have to be Petrucci at Mugello.
Yeah.
Because
I can't watch it without getting wet eyes.
I'm a big sook, when it comes to watching sport and people achieving something special, I can't help but cry, you know, because I know what they've put in to do it, you know, and plus he's such a nice fella, you know. I was like listening to him, and then I went back to, I thought it was me being a big sook like I always am about that, and I went back to my office, which was, you know, has a lot of other journalists, and a few of the girls and guys that do the interviews after race for different channels and that. We all work together, we all do the interviews with the riders. They were all crying as well. Yeah. So it wasn't just me. The Petrucci one was very special. Hey, you know what? I think my job, I should be unbiased, you know, because in commentary you should be unbiased. Everybody deserves the same treatment from us, I think, you know. But I also feel, I thought that would be difficult, you know, that I'd have my favourites, but it's not difficult, because after spending weeks and then it's become years in the paddock, you know, and you see how everybody is trying their heart out. So I genuinely feel happy for anyone getting on the podium, and especially when it's their first podium, you know, and that's the best. And then when it's, or their first win, when it's their umpteenth win, it's not as exciting, you know, like when, you know what I'm saying, when Mick Doohan was dominating, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't pull the heartstrings the same anymore, does it? But
it's not like Nakashima.
I think, yeah, remember I said there was two in the last 12 months? That was the other one. That was
right.
One. Fantastic. And he's also such a lovable guy, you know, to talk to.
Yeah. Your first podium was Assen, and I thought it was 92, but that was your first race in Assen. And in 95, you had your first podium in Assen, if I'm well informed. Can you still bring back the feeling of standing on that podium?
Yeah, because it was the first one, especially the Grand Prix one. It's more recent to me, you know, like, but it was super special, you know, like I really, really wanted that. And so much so that I didn't fight in the last lap or two. You know, when Mick Doohan and Biaggi went at it, I could see they were so determined. They were right in front of me. And I just went, if I fight and fall and miss, you know, because we'd left Barros and, who was it? Barros and, I can't remember who was behind Barros. We'd left them behind. So I knew I had a safe podium. If I fell, I know how the paddock works. Everyone would be going, you know, saying nasty words. So I just got
there was
home.
No social media then. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but what a circuit! Fantastic. And the other thing I remember is Mick, who had been my training partner for the years before. I'm standing on that podium. I felt like I've got it in the bag now. Nobody could take that one away from me. I would say I'll never do it. The next ones I can throw everything at. The other thing I remember is Mick tipping the bottle of champagne on my head, you know, going glug, 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 and I got a drink from it. So, yeah, wow, brilliant feeling.
Do you have the same memories from racing as well? I've talked to quite a few retired racers, and they still can. I mean, Freddie Spencer is like crazy in that. He can still tell every gear shift, every corner, every entry point, every move in every race he made. Are you like that?
No. I remember the standout things like you said, Assen. Always at Assen, we'd turn up there and I'd have to run a one step harder rear spring because, especially with the older part as well, they had so much banking that it puts more pressure on the bike. So I would remember the technical side of trying to make the bike work at that track, you know, but I wouldn't remember gear shifts everywhere. You know what I'm saying? No, not as detailed as that.
I have to apologize for the track. I mean, it still hurts me till today that they sold the northern loop and made it an industrial estate where there's only 2 buildings. Well, it is like that for a long time now, but I still hate it.
It's mainly sad. It's only sad to me because it literally was equal to the best track in the world to me. Is it just stunning, you know? So anyway, let's move on from that.
Yeah, right. I've got 5 words. I would like a short reaction from you for it. First one is high side.
Ooh. Ouch. Okay, high side, I quickly learnt, because it was so painful, that they sound so distinctive. You go, "Roo!" So the tyre lights up, flicks you high, and then it's silence. You think, oh, I got away with it. Then it's, oh, you know, on the ground.
Yeah, right. Second one is Kirsten.
Oh. Best decision I ever made. She's wonderful.
All right. T12.
So you wanted it short. Sorry.
No, that's great. Good answer. I mean, the third one is T12.
Oh. Life-changing. Made me appreciate my wonderful wife and kids even more. Sad that guys have to often go through such a traumatic thing to realize what they've got, you know, which is what happened to me. So as horrible as the feeling of being paralyzed is, it set me on the right track.
All right. Maybe most people don't know you crashed in 2008 Romaniacs, I think it was, in a reconnaissance.
Yeah, 9. I think it was 2009. I did the job.
Yeah.
I raced Romaniacs 2007 and 8. 7 to have a look. 8 to compete. 6 and 7. I can't remember, but I think it was 9. 8 and 9. Yeah, 8 and 9. I worked for Red Bull Romaniacs. Martin, who owns the event, is still a good friend today. I worked for him, and to build day 2 and day 4, which is a big, like you're talking 100-kilometer loop through the mountains, you know, speaking with the council, wet across the roads. And I did it as a challenge because I was lost after retiring from motorcycle racing, you know. So loved it because I was riding motorbikes. But yeah, it was a big experience. I had a car, and it actually felt like I was nailed to the road, because I tried to get up and there's just no way. Felt like you're glued or nailed. I was like, so I got up on my elbows, a full face helmet, and went, the car's not on me, the bike's not on me, but I'm stuck to the road, you know. And so I grabbed both legs above the knee, nothing. And I grabbed my private parts, still nothing. And then it just hit me. I was like, this is terrifying. So scary that you refuse to believe it. You go, no. So, yeah, anyway, big experience.
All right. Michelin is number 4.
Multiple world champions. I just... No, really. Multiple world champions. I thought, well, I'm going to win on them, aren't I? But I think I genuinely believe that the years before, I figured out how to get more out of Dunlops, what they had. Because that's a rider's job, whether it's machine or tyre or trackers, is use what you have, the advantages you have. And I figured that out with the Dunlops. They had better in some areas, worse than others. And when I jumped on the Michelins, the good areas that I'd figured from the Dunlop were gone. Those strong points were gone. And I couldn't change myself to use the strengths of the Michelin. That's, I think, the fair, honest way to say it, you know. So, yeah. It ended my career.
Yeah. Yeah. Evert, I still have one. Can I still do that? Or mostly when you show up at the end? Oh, all right. Last one is not one word. It's Phillip Island 98.
Woo! Oh, what a feeling. So this is short, right? Short.
Yeah. Shortish. Yeah.
Best experience on a motorcycle in my life because the track is terrifying, fast, scary, dangerous, and I love it. I love it if it's going right. It's terrifying otherwise and intimidating. And I got to stand on the podium, that sea of people, with my training partner Mick, who had won, standing in second, ahead of Crevier, and a sea of people, and my grandparents and aunties and uncles, and in that sea of people. So what an experience! Yeah. I love Phillip Island.
How come you didn't win? I mean, you were really. When I looked up the lap times. They're still somewhere around on the big internet. 133.8 and 133.8 and 134.3 for Doohan. I mean, you were so much quicker.
I got a crap start and then just didn't seem to really hit my rhythm until mid-race, and then where I was 7th mid-race, and then just don't know. It seemed to work and flow and feel so good. That circuit, when you feel like that, that's why I love it so much. As terrifying as it is, I've mentioned this earlier in a video, that it's 200 kilometers an hour in the middle of the corner. In the front, you're going like that, and then you're back on the throttle, and it's just a dream come true, because everyone talks about that, don't they? But most of it's not real. And I was doing it, it was a dream, an absolute dream come true to ride like that on that track. But yeah, I'm happy. I got second. I got to ride a factory bike against the best guys in the world. That didn't pay.
Here's a dad sitting, so yeah, your dad was a lucky man.
It paid for this house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, Evert. We have 2 more questions, and then we have 5 minutes to go for the Renka story. One of the questions: what do you think about the rumors to get two-stroke bikes, 4 cylinders, back in GP?
Wow. I genuinely have no idea if they're considering this seriously, but I hope they are.
Ring, ding, 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 ding.
No, because the technology now is so much better. I rode them right at the end, and they didn't break, they didn't seize, like the years before. They're great. And what's the word? I think the years that I rode were more forgiving as well, torquey. But with the modern technology, imagine what they can do, with the electronics, with the traction control, and with the fuel injection. But the big thing is power to weight, I would love to see it, because, the limiting thing is grip, right? And if you take a bunch of weight off, then, wow, I think that'd be wonderful. But I've got no idea if it'll happen or not.
Okay. And then the last questions. The season is not started. It is a difficult season now, but hopefully we can start next month with the season, and we have some races, 12 or until 16 they talk about. But who are, in your opinion, the 3 new world champions at the end of the season?
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, the only clear favourite is Mark, really, isn't he? Because he's. I don't have to explain why. But in Moto 2 and 3, I have genuinely no idea. That's what's great about those classes. When I couldn't pick a winner. I really couldn't. It's too close in those classes, which is great.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you could take something from Qatar, but it'll change like it always does when we get to Europe. Someone else will be as strong. And so, no, I think the only clear favourite is Mark in the big class, and it's really down to him to not throw it away, because he's just been riding incredible, hasn't he? Then the Suzukis and Maverick are, Maverick, if he can, I'm getting off track, but Maverick looked super strong at Qatar, and I hope he keeps that role going. And Suzuki's there too, so I hope Mark gets a harder time than usual. Genuinely, Moto3 and Moto2, it's too hard to pick, which is wonderful.
Okay. Ivan.
Yeah. Okay. I warned you that in the end we would love to hear a rental car story, and until now this is quite a big hit in our shows. Your best or your worst, or someone else's best or worst story. Someone else can only be if you also mention the name. Please tell us your rental car story.
I will be honest and say at the start that
please,
I love doing kids in them, yeah, but I feel actually ashamed that we'd, destroyed property.
We all do.
Like that.
We all do.
So, okay. So, mine aren't too bad. I've got two brief ones. I'll squeeze them in. And that is, first of all, Regis Laconi. He was my teammate in Red Bull Yamaha. And he was such a lunatic in the car that it terrified me. And I didn't mind going fast. But he was just another level. He wanted it sideways, going into roundabouts. And I'm talking in Malaysia when it's full of scooters and traffic, and I'm going, oh. So I trained with him a lot, and I knew that I was stronger than him. So what I'd do if he was driving the rental car is I would give him second gear and put both arms on the gear lever and go, you're not having any more. Really. It was, and he would look at me and go, and then limits him everywhere, but still managed to get it sideways in the roundabouts and the corners, and that it was proper scary. So usually I would get the key and not give it to him, but then the team would borrow the car for something, go and get water, and come back and give the key to him because they didn't know, and then I'd have to go give him second gear only. Hey, so the only one I did was inspired by Regis, because he was brilliant at drifting the rental cars, very, very good at it. So inspired by Regis, I started doing a bit of drifting as well and enjoying it, especially in those Aussie-built Ford Falcons with a big 4.2 litre straight six, and they, you could get them back the other way. And with a bit of luggage in the boot, it had a big pendulum effect. And so I went around this corner on my way to mum and dad's, actually, to visit mum and dad, my wife in the car, and my brother in the back. And so turned off the main road, around this corner, nice slide, nice drift. But we were out there and there's someone coming the other way, but my boot is on his side of the road. And the front is still on the road, but only just, but the boot, it's a big car. And he didn't really, I was looking at him going, he's looking, but he's not looking. He's driving his road home from work, and he just drove straight into my boot. So it flicked the car back the other way, spun the car right around, and we ended up in a big ditch, a big stormwater drain, looking, up here. Anyway, dangerous gravel on those corners, I reckon. Dangerous gravel.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Officer.
Yeah.
A lot of gravel,
in general,
officer. Yeah.
In general, I was pretty tame in the rental cars. I think, just didn't want to destroy them for some reason. Didn't want to wreck them, you know what I mean? Just wanted to have some fun and give them back and not get charged for it.
Okay, Ivan. We have, it's 9 o'clock, so we had 1 hour, so the time is gone. Simon,
all right.
Thank you very much for this nice interview. It's 1 hour, and I think when we still 1 hour have to go, it's no problem. So thank you for your time. Ivan,
you're very welcome, guys.
Okay, and hopefully we see each other soon back on the Grand Prix track. So
big fingers crossed for lots of races.
Yeah,
from,
yeah,
it would be great.
The Marathon.
It will be great.
Great to spend some.
Okay,
Ivan, great to spend some time with you guys.
Ivan, ook super bedankt weer voor de medewerking vanavond. Alle kijkers bedankt voor het kijken weer. We zijn er aanstaande donderdag, zijn we er weer terug om 8 uur. We weer een nieuwe gast. Wie het is nog een kleine verrassing. Ik hoop dat jullie ervan genoten hebben. Hebben jullie opmerkingen, aanmerkingen? Vonden jullie het leuk? Laat gewoon gerust een bericht achter onder deze video op Facebook of op YouTube. Bedankt voor het kijken en hopelijk tot de volgende keer.